The reason why whether the subject is the participant in the conversation or not is discerned maybe that the information about how the subject of the experience, condition, or action is related to the speaker, and the listeners is a factor for the listeners to assign the importance of the clause with the information. There is a conference. The be verb signifies that the clause describes the existence of the speaker, which is the premise of the experience, condition, or action of the speaker as a subject with the form of the be verb am. The form of the be verb to describe the speaker whose number is 1 and the participant in the conversation with the listeners as the first case out of the 4 cases to classify the type of the subject according to the number of the subject and whether the subject participates in the conversation or not is described by one of the forms of the be verb am. One of the forms of the be verb am notifies the listeners that the clause conveys the essential information about the existence of the speaker who leads the conversation. The existence of the speaker may be the primary premise for the clause to be stated. There is a clause, I am happy. The description of the be verb am for the speaker as the subject may mean that the speaker as the subject exists to be described by the be verb am and the adjective happy as the subjective complement to specify the existence of the speaker as the subject with a condition. The form of the be verb are is applied to describe the subject whose number are plural and participate in the conversation. We can say that these subjects are the listeners. As the third case of the subject classification, the subject whose number is plural and do not participate in the conversation are also described by the form of the be verb are as the fourth case of the subject classification. These are the 2 cases that the form of the be verb are is applied to describe the subject. The form of the be verb is applied to describe the subject whose number is singular and does not participate in the conversation. As the second case of the subject classification, the listeners are always considered to be plural because the range of the listeners is supposed to be extended to every listener. So there can be 2 cases. The third and the fourth cases that the number of the subject is plural for the form of the be verb are is applied to describe the subject. the subject of the experience, condition, or action in the past or future is not a participant in the present conversation. This is obvious with the phenomenon that the speaker in the present does not even consider to be the same as the speaker in the past. The first explanation is about the constant form of the general verb to describe the subject in a clause stated in the past tense and in a clause stated in the future tense with the specification by the modal verb will. This can be understood with the intent of the speaker who focuses on the definition of the verb. The definition of the verb to describe the subject in the past is mentioned at the present because the speaker focuses on the definition of the verb because the speaker considers that the definition of the verb to describe the experience, condition, or action in the past is still important at the present. The subject of the experience, condition, or action to be actualized in the future is not determined at the present. So, the form of the verb specified by the modal verb will is constant. The two forms of the be verb was and were are applied to reveal the number of the subject or subject in a clause stated in the past tense. Because the indication for the subject or subject itself reveals the fact that the subject or subject existed in the past. But the speaker mentions the subject or subject who existed in the past at the present. The fact that the speaker states a clause about the subject or subject in the past delivers the basic intent which is able to be delivered only with the phrase. But the speaker applies the be verb to describe the subject as a clause. We can understand that this means that the clause is stated to deliver the intent of the speaker with the additional information about the number of the subject. The importance of the subject is revealed, is accepted to reveal with the number of the subject. So the two forms of the be verb was and were are applied to reveal the number of the subject or subject who existed in the past. The form of the be verb am to describe the speaker as the subject in a clause stated in the present tense is differentiated with the other forms of the be verb are and is. But the form of the be verb to describe the speaker as the subject in a clause stated in the past tense has the same form to describe the subject whose number is 1 and does not participate in the conversation with the speaker at the present. This means that the speaker at the present considers himself in the past as the different person with who the speaker is at the present. As we have a meal that is the body of Jesus Christ, every day I believe that the one evolves us into a better person with the procedure to digest the meal as we are integrated with Jesus Christ. Our composition of body is changed, so we can understand that the speaker indicates himself in the past as the different person from who he is, and the form of the be verb was is applied to describe the speaker in the past, and the subject whose number is singular and does not participate in the conversation at the present. The speaker in the past is considered to be a non-participant in the present conversation who had the possibility to choose or not to choose to actualize the past experience to cause the present condition, because the speaker obtains the new perspective after a cycle of the past experience, condition, and action. This is the explanation about being a different person as the speaker at the present from the speaker in the past. The cycle of the experience, condition, and action may change the perspective of the speaker. So we can also accept the fact that the speaker in the past and the speaker at the present are considered as the different person. This can be understood with the same form of the be verb was to describe the existence of the speaker and the non-participant in the past. There are two clauses. The first clause is about the speaker in the past. I was happy. The second clause is about the subject who does not participate in the conversation from the perspective at the present, when the conversation between the speaker and the listeners happens, and whose number is singular. He was happy. The listeners do not assign the highest importance to the clause to describe the past or future point in time, because the subject is not the participant in the present conversation with the speaker. This description is about the uniformity of a verb applied in a clause stated in the past tense or future tense, except the two forms of the be verb, was and were.